deemed the celebrity whisperer by Playboy.
This is the best interview of the day.
Thanks for having me.
You hit the nail on the head.
100%.
Period, yeah.
Touch them. They're cracking me up.
Wear them, baby. She's good.
Taylor Ferber.
Surprise! Did you really think that you'd see the last of me?
Surprise, bitch. I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me.
New look and same me, bitches. Welcome, everybody, to the Leveled Up 2.0 Talk to Me, Taylor. We have graduated officially from Cancel Me Baby. Think of Cancel Me Baby as like your trendy, cool little sister who also is kind of pesky and gets on your nerves around the holidays, right? It's like she's kind of hanging around. She's hip, she's cool, but like cancel culture, right? I just feel like it's kind of like trying too hard and had its moment. Cancel culture, it's just been watered down. It's been overused. It's been weaponized by both sides. So yes, while we love a little sassy, like little sister cancel culture moment, we're going to keep her around. It's still the vibe. It's still just not all the time. Like I said, we are on to bigger and better. So everybody, welcome back into my house. Come on to my house, to my house. Yes, Girls Next Door 5.0, bitch. So for all of you OGs, I am so excited to have you along. Is this a surprise or what? And to all of you who are just listening for the first time, listen. A, like, where have you been all your life? But B, like, it's never late to get right and tight. You know what I mean? So better late than never. But for all of my OGs, if you've noticed, my feed is looking desolate, okay? It is as desolate as P. Diddy's future. And that is because I have been going in the archives like Harrison Ford in the temple of my archives to clear it all out for this very exciting rebrand and relaunch of the show, right? But I have to tell you, it was really a blast from the past. Like, I swear to God, you can check in with Doc, you can check in with Marty McFly, like nobody saw this coming, because going through the last 9 years from when I first started my platform, right? Between all of the selfie stick interviews that I did on the red carpet in Hollywood, and you guys know I have talked to everybody who is everybody. Like, we are talking Kim Kardashian, we're talking Mark Wahlberg, Michael Douglas, Oprah, Lady Gaga, when she like descended from Mars from our interview, right? Even to Cancel Me Baby, right? And the birth of Cancel Me Baby when cancel culture was really at its peak, and still the vibe, still the essence of like, bitch, don't tell me what to say, do, or think. Thank you very much. And also just the iteration of the show, all of the amazing people that, I had conversations with last year. And how could I forget but my work in Playboy? And all of this, don't worry, all the greats, the Hall of Fame are going to, like the Hall of Fokker, the Hall of Ferber, okay, they are all going to be coming back. And when I bring up Playboy, I mean, not only the articles, but, oh yeah, the photos too. So stick around for that. But in revisiting my archives, right, blast from the past, one story that really stuck out, right? Like, as we are on this, new lease on life, like we are reemerging, we are rebirth. Speaking of Lady Gaga, out of her like obscure egg at the Grammys, okay? There is a story that really stood out to me and an experience that I had, and that is with none other than Blake Shelton. So what happened, again, my OGs, my ride or dies know, but it's always a good refresher, and especially for what this is going to be about today and what's going on at large, right? So I'm interviewing Blake Shelton at his bar, Ole Red, in downtown Nash Vegas, okay, where shit gets a little crazy. And so he's promoting his new goofy slapstick fun drinking parallel adjacent game show with Carson Daly and Nikki Bella. So what happens? I whip out my selfie stick and I start to interview him, and people are playing games, they're having fun. Like Blake himself, like Blakey may or may not have made a mistake, like maybe had a couple drinks, beside the point. So I opened up our conversation making a joke about the time I sat next to his wife, Gwen Stefani's parents, at The Voice. You don't need to know the joke. You don't need to know the joke right now, okay? It's not important. But he basically thought that I was dissing his wife's parents. We kind of got off on the wrong foot. Like, he's looking at me like, really, lady? Like, we're trying to have fun. Like, are you coming in hot right now, making fun of my wife's parents, which I wasn't. But then I pulled out a Taylor. Okay. I straight pulled a Taylor. And I just, instead of kind of reading the environment in the room, I just sort of went straight for the jugular and start asking him, you have this really fun game show bringing the people together. Like, let's talk about the political divide in the country and how everything is just so divisive, right? So he is sitting there, like, you'd think I lighten the mood, okay? Because we already got off to a weird start. But as I do, I just went for it again. Like, if you can't take the heat, get out of the kitchen. Sorry. So he is sitting there like shook as if he is in a 5th grade spelling bee. Okay. He doesn't even know which way to look, but he obviously has thoughts on the matter. And he says some blasé comment like, can't we left, right, blah, blah. Can't we all just have a beer and get along? Fair enough. Like, diplomatic, fine. I think we're all good with that. But this is taboo. You ain't supposed to do this. Sir, this has been my lifelong story again. If you're along for the ride now, newly, welcome. This has been my experience in Hollywood for the last 9 years, give or take, right? But you're not supposed to do this. So it ends up becoming a whole thing where his reps, the USA Network executive, the NBC network executive, like the town mayor, the janitor, the guitar player, like everybody brings me backstage to review the footage and basically slap Taylor on the wrist as a no-no. Like, why'd you have to go there with Blake? But the funny thing is they said, okay, you would literally think we'd be solving foreign policy out there, okay? But the thing is, that Blakey had something to say because his PR even said to me, Taylor, if you wanted to do a Bill Maher-esque sit down, like we'd be more than happy to, but this just wasn't the time or place. Like, can't we all just do belly shots and call it a goddamn day, basically, right? So fair enough. But my point is, even Blake Shelton, we all know, has thoughts about what I was getting at, about what I was asking. And it really got me thinking about our culture at large, right? We always have this on our minds. We're constantly trying to navigate and we're thinking, we have opinions, we're thoughts, we're trying to sift through the information and the misinformation. Also consider me that's misinformation to you people. But while this is continuously on our minds, we're also all afraid to speak up about everything. And so we're going to talk about that a little bit today. Enter Taylor, somebody who is not afraid to speak her mind and to call out the left, the right, all the boxes that you ever heard of, okay? Wokeism, conservatism, like hide your dogs, your kids, your wives, because my newly red phone and I are coming for your ass. And so that goes to say, we have hit some heavy topics here. I'm not afraid. I'll talk about Israel. I've talked about cancel culture, obviously, talked about trans issues, talked about censorship in media. It's funny because actually, when I took my little time off before the rebrand, I went down an entire Atlas Shrugged rabbit hole, when I was planning for this episode for you guys, I literally was going to take you into a college dissertation on Atlas Shrugged. Like, it's giving Dagny Taggart. And if you know, you know, but I was literally going to do a whole episode on the mission statement of what my brand has always been around personal, autonomy and freedom and individualism versus collectivism and control and, freedom of the mind and achievement and all this. And I thought, that is a conversation to be had, no doubt. But we're going to save that for another time. We're going to be a little lighter today, okay? And get back to basics, if you will. What do I mean by basics? Well, I'm talking about the P's and the V's. Do with those hieroglyphics, okay, what you will, okay? Sex sells people, and basically we're going to be talking about the only thing that anyone only cares about anyway, which is men and women and what have you, but the culture war between masculinity, femininity, what a man has to be, and what a woman should be, okay? Let's start with you, men. You know what? Harrison Bucker came in hot, and guess what? Talk to me, Taylor's here now, and it's your fucking turn, okay? So here's the thing. I have been vocal about the mainstream media berating men since the beginning of time, since I've started my career. we saw it in the Barbie movie. We saw, like, basically, we don't need a Ken, okay? But we don't need any of the versions of Kens. I'll be honest. Like, unless like the tap dancing Gene Kelly is your thing, fine. But here's what's happening. It's either like the brain dead meathead Ken or the misogynistic patriarchal blah, blah, blah Ken. And all of it is nonsense. And I'm not talking about the Sabrina Carpenter kind, okay? I've been talking about this celebrities on the red carpet again when it was so taboo because God forbid in Woketopia Hollywood, we can't talk about the mess that is masculinity that, no offense, they created, right? Because at the time it's like, oh, you can't say that. No, like you're just fostering. You can't talk about masculinity. No, they're fine because all men are, toxic and patriarchal and smash the patriarchy and they're not being emasculated and blah, blah, blah. And the truth is, I do not stand corrected, okay? Because they are a goddamn mess. I was right then, and I'm right now. My crystal balls, which you guys are now seeing, and HD hopefully had it right all along, okay? Don't cross a Barbie bitch or her brain, okay? Her psychic brain. Okay, because I was seeing this at the time, like give or take 7-8 years ago. And I even wrote an op-ed in USA Today about cancel culture. And I argued we need to bring men into this conversation because they're getting so badgered and beat up about how they're the problem they cause all the woes in our society. And they're scrambling and they're lost. And they're quite frankly, they're a mess. So I said, bring them into the conversation instead of berating them constantly. But no, that's not what happened, i.e. the Barbie movie, okay? And what did we have? What happened but this, where we have standards and of role models of men awry. And I firmly believe it's kind of like the household, right? It's like anything in leadership. Those at the top set the tone for everybody else who trickles down. So if you need proof that the men in our society are a goddamn mess, look no further because it feels like we have the polarity right now, right? We have people like the Harrison Buckers who may as well be a Betty Crocker spokesperson. And then we have the Andrew Tate who, alleged, gotta throw in the alleged woman beater. Basically, I've seen the videos, sweetie, okay? And this guy thinks his idea of masculinity and asserting your role as a masculine man is literally inseminating any walking, breathing thing on the planet, right? So we have those two polar opposites. And then, again, look at the leadership. Look no further than the so-called joke of a clown show of the leadership of this country. First, you have Joe Biden, who literally needs a pacifier to get through the day. And then you have Trump, who, again, if I stand corrected, fine. I guarantee you this guy wears his own mugshot under all of his clothes every single day and probably jerks off to it at night and can't even answer a question without stroking himself and how amazing he is. Like his ego has literally taken over the entire SpaceX operation and may as well go into the next galaxy, okay? So this is what happens. This is what happens when you have men so lost and confused and unsure how to navigate. And look, the proof is in the numbers. Like I'm personally not a stats girl because I think stats are fake news. You can find stats for everything. You can find a stat out there about how the grass is blue and the sky is green, okay? But just look around you. I mean, there are stats that show men aren't, basically leaving their mom's basement and willing to step away from Dungeons and Dragons, okay? They are not enrolling in the army. They're not getting an education. They're not working. They're not getting married. They're not having sex. Like, it's just a mess. Even ladies, in your day-to-day, let's be, even this morning, okay, I am dressed as, I'm a strong, self-sufficient woman. Like, don't fucking cross me. However, I am in my little Barbie outfit. I'm in my purple 5-inch shoes. I may as well be Santa Claus and Mrs. Claus when I'm carrying all this shit for this one woman show, okay? And on top of it, I'm balancing coffees in my hand. I see this man who is looking at me perplexed, watching me like a Lifetime movie, okay? Struggling to open the door. Like, dude, find your two brain cells, merge them together, and open the door for me. Would you treat your grandma this way? Would you treat your mom or your girlfriend? Actually, probably yes, because you guys are dazed and confused, right? So my point Exactly. Is that it's either like men, if you're looking at like the wokey wokesters, like let's like emasculate them even more because they've caused all of these problems. They suppress women, which like, by the way, sweetie, if you think that's the case, I'll happily send you on a one-way flight to the Middle East. I won't get specific right now because we're trying to, keep this light. And we'll really talk about men suppressing women, okay? So we have the woke who literally want to put men in tutus and they're like, yes, that's the way to go. Like, absolutely. Okay. And then you have the Andrew Tates, the Harrison Butkers, who have reemerged from a deranged version of 1953. So this is just not where we want to be. And then I even got into an interesting debate about the Harrison Butker thing with my conservative friend, just being like, again, what Aunt Jemima ad are we running now? Like, I'm not going to go down that hole. Gonna get into that ball of wax right now. But he made a good point. I'm like, okay, why is this man who's obviously a successful athlete, family man, businessman, all these things, taking this moment to address recent college women? Like, why don't you take this opportunity since men are falling apart at the seams out here? I love you. I love you guys. You know I'm a man lover. I'm not a man hater. I'm a man lover first, right? Which is why I always got pushed back in Hollywood because I would say this. But why isn't he taking this moment to address the men about being what real stand-ups role model men are? And he said to me, don't you think that the mainstream would misconstrue that and interpret that as and decipher that as, oh, he's just telling men to like step in and be more aggressive and be more toxic and telling them to like take over their power and shit. And I was kind of like, he has a point. So with that being said, before I get into the ladies of it all, I actually feel like a really great interview. This shit, does not age. Like, unlike George Clooney and his politics, it's like this stuff just doesn't age, right? Is Vilo Ventimiglia in the conversation I had with him, I don't know, 6 years ago about this very thing, right? Because I saw it happening in front of me again, and I was like, this needs to be addressed. And I asked him, what makes a man? And he was playing a big role in the show This Is Us, which is all about men and men's role, women too, but the family, right? Especially his role as the patriarch of the family in the show. And he said, I think that you have to be kind, you have to be honorable, and you have to have strength. I mean, if that doesn't just make you feel a type of way, well, just go up and post up and reside in Hades, because I don't know what else to tell you, okay? I mean, I feel like that just captures it. And you know what, ladies? Guess what? I have friends on both sides of the aisle. I have super lefty feminist friends. I have super kind of old school traditional conservative friends. And I feel like this is something that would get these ladies' panties excited. Okay? Like, I feel like all women, despite their politics, despite whatever, like, if you're a conservative and like you don't even want to say the word or think about the word panty, again, right? It's like, no, that's not a thing. That never happened. I think we can all agree that that's what makes a good, solid man. So I say, make men great again, okay? MMGA, let's go. Let's get some real models up in this bitch and we'll make it happen. And now, ladies, it's our turn, okay? Because isn't it always now? So oddly, I feel like both sides when dictate. I mean, here's the thing, right? Both sides, yes, they love dictating what men should be, but they also get off to dictate. It is like their favorite pastime, okay? Like now that J.K. Rowling is canceled and they can't read Harry Potter, all people like to do is to dictate how women are supposed to be. And oddly enough, when you have both sides of the spectrum, they kind of land in the same place, right? You have, again, the wokey woke left, who in their minds to be, quote, equal and be a woman, you can't really be a feminine woman or you won't be taken seriously. So you basically have to be like an androgynous dude with a weird haircut and a suit and act like a guy who you claim to hate and claim to be the problem to like compete with them and be on their level and like beat them at their own game, like make it make sense. And then you have the right who literally, like I have seen conservatives pass away at the thought of a woman showing her body willingly in any way, shape, or form, i.e. Sydney Sweeney. Like, are you conservative commentators, influencers? Like, are you okay? Does someone need to like resuscitate you in your Twitter from the dead? So that's something, right? And we see it all the time. We see older women who show their bodies on Instagram get ridiculed, right? We see like even goddamn Tinkerbell. This bitch can't even catch a break. Like, this bitch is getting exiled from the Disney meet and greets, and all she wanted to do was come in here with her cute little fairy dust ass. But no, she's even canceled, okay? And don't even get me started on Caitlin Clark, who has taken the WNBA by storm. Because here's the thing, if you're not, you're either too feminine, right? Or you're not like manly enough. Nobody can get it straight. But then when you are a female competitor who is making waves in the men's game, in this case, literally the game of sports, right? You have Caitlin Clark, who has raised WNBA ratings, merch, like interest, all this. But guess what? Okay, like, wouldn't you think people would be doing back handsprings in the street? Like, thank you, Caitlin, for bringing attention to this sector and this realm that was always the man's sport, literally pun intended, right? But no, why? Because Caitlin Clark is too white and too straight. I am truly not kidding. Like, these people literally are deprived of oxygen, okay? Are you serious? If you look on The View, you look on The Atlantic, Washington Post, whatever it is, and this is literally their argument for blaming Caitlin Clark for the success, because the WNBA is a predominantly Black and LGBT community, and this is why it's popular suddenly, because she's white and straight. It's like, bitch, can we catch a break? Like, can we catch a break? Absolutely absurd. And then you think about, again, this insanity is why we have this flip-flop mode of female role models as well. Honestly, I'm looking out there and I'm like, this shit is looking pretty bleak, okay? Because again, the extremes, just like with men, with women, you have like the Hillary Clintons with their boxy suits and their butch haircuts. And I'll be quite frank, I'm scared. I am scared of her. I am scared of her. And I am scared this bitch is going to enroll me in the witness protection program. Shall I speak up about her and her family, right? And then on the other end of it, it's like Cardi B on the stripper pole at the Grammys. So again, it's like, what gives? And I personally, I mean, I have no bias here, but I would like to advocate for my personal philosophy, which viewers of mine know, which is breaking out of all of these boxes, because like the male role model duality that are extreme, like the female, same thing. I say fuck the boxes, honestly, and let us find our innate power, both in the masculine and in the feminine, and be that ultimate yin and yang, right? So you guys know my philosophy of boobs out, brains out. Don't tell me that I either have to be the Playboy bunny or the intellectual. How about this? I'm going to be both, and I'll blow your brains and your dicks right off. Because how often do we see that? Rarely ever, because we are told by both sides, God forbid, you're not supposed to. And so you can take that, okay, and shove it right up Hillary Clinton's research numbers, okay? Because it's all a bunch of phony baloney, okay? So that's what I think about that. You know, access our power, get to what's real, stop letting both of these sides get in our heads about how we have to be. And then, what do you know? We'll find our way back to harmony, to men opening doors and paying for the meal. Tinder will be a thing of the past. And like, for the love of God, maybe our generation will start having sex again. I don't know. But then AI will come in and eradicate everything. So I guess I'm just, speaking into the void anyway. But anyway, who am I to say? So to wrap all of this up, okay, is another story for you. It's like Mr. Rogers who? Mr. Rogers reincarnated, okay? Is my situation and my story with Chris Pratt that those of you may or may not know. But when you speak about taboo, I'll never forget the time when I went to interview the Avengers cast for Avengers Endgame at junkets, right? And these are very, like, you want to talk about uptight Hollywood. This is as stick up your asshole, like 7th grade wedgie from the bully as you get. It's a very, like, especially with Disney, are you kidding? I mean, hello, just ask Tinkerbell, okay? So it's a very, like, don't step out of line. It's very, stay with the script. Disney is so excited and willing to cancel anybody and everything. And this was, again, a little bit of cancel culture before its time. So that goes to, like, it's just, they have an instant reflex. It's just like click, 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 swipe, swipe, canceled. Okay. Like, it's a small canceled world after not, actually, because they will do it to anybody. And so I walk, because if you don't know, Marvel is owned by Disney. It's the same company. So I walk in and I go to interview Chris Pratt and Zoe Saldana. And you have in there, it's like a dark room. It's like all the PR, all the producers, all the Disney people. Like, you thought the Blake Shelton entourage was something, honey, you ain't seen nothing yet. Okay. And so, funny enough, as luck would have it, story of my life, as soon as I go in to interview them, and keep in mind, everybody, there's like Tom Holland, like Chadwick, may you rest in peace. Like, people were just like walking out and about. So they call me in to interview them. And what happens? But Chris Pratt scoots out, and he's like, sorry, like, basically just to take a quick bathroom break. I'm like, right, of course, right before it's my turn. So I sit down and I look him dead in the eye. Cameras are rolling. Okay. And I ask him point blank, Chris, how was your pee break? His publicist probably had rolled around, spun around in 360s 5 times harder than Beetlejuice, okay? Because it's like, what did you just ask? Did you just ask my super A-list client, the star of Guardians of the Galaxy, how his personal private bathroom break was? But guess what? Okay, like, sacrilege, completely sacrilege. So what happens? He ends up taking this and running with it, right? He is like, he literally tells me, he's like, I just, I had this moment where I had to fart, but there was someone next to me. So do I hold it in? What do I do? He is just, again, taking this and running with it. Like, you would think this was your high school locker room, okay, between football practice. Here's Zoe Saldana. She jumps in and she's like, oh, I hate that. It is the absolute worst. And next thing you know, we all basically are making s'mores and braiding each other's hair like we are best friends at summer camp, okay? They are like having so much fun. Zoe Saldana ends up revealing to me how their characters have a kiss. And then when I believe to say bye, they were so sad that it was over, right? And the point is, sure, maybe we weren't talking about anything crazy or overtly political, like Trump or Biden or COVID or the Middle East or whatever it is. But it was still super, like I said, sacrilegious and taboo. And what happened? They were just completely human, because people want that. We all want to be human and we all want to talk. And so right now, I will leave you with this, because I always want to leave the people a little thirsty for more, a little thirsty to talk to me, Taylor. But it reminds me of the time, right now it's like the others. It's the us versus the them. It's the left versus the right. It's the have versus the have-nots, right? And in going down this memory, down my, career and memory lane, I thought about all of the times, right? I've been with the Hollywood elite. I mean, it doesn't get more have and have-nots than that. But I'll never forget the time I sat front row at the Emmys. And me being the little mischief maker I am, what I do, I snuck backstage to use the restroom. And I couldn't believe my eyes when I was in line with some of the most famous women on the planet back there in the bathroom. I'm talking Sandra Oh, Zoe Kravitz, Elizabeth Moss. And, it really got me thinking, at the end of the day, it's kind of like a microcosm of all this, right? It's like, sure, it may be the have and have-nots, but guess what? When you're backstage at the Emmys and you got to take a piss, you're still going to pull your dress up and squat over that toilet just like everybody else. So I say, everybody, let's put our shit aside and actually have the conversation. Welcome to the Leveled Up 2.0. Talk to me, Taylor. See you next time.